So we've got monocots versus dicots. We've got, and we started talking in the last lecture about plant growth, vegetative growth. In this lecture, we're going to get into sort of the nitty gritty on how the plants actually grow and bring in nutrients. So this is growth and nutrient transport. And as we just figured out, what are the two tissues that we're going to be primarily talking about? Xylem and phloem. And hey, Savannah, what is the one that transports water? Right, and the one that transports phloem? No, wait, the one that transports nutrients is phloem. For these plants, water is absolutely key and essential. Don't worry, Carlos, Savannah, I'll stop making fun of you now. I'll pick on, I don't know, like Carly or something. Um, so, plants have to take in water and they take it in through osmosis. You learned a lot about osmosis in Bio 101. You're moving from an area of high concentration water to low concentration water, or an area of low concentration solute to an area of high concentration solute. Water is going to flood into these cells because the cells in general have more solute than what's around them. If you're putting these cells in pure water, water will flood in. But those cells do not osmotically lyse. They don't pop. Why do the cells not pop? Because they have a cell wall. Instead, that just builds up what's called turgor pressure in there. It becomes very rigid. And plants use that rigidity, that pressure, in order to help them build bigger cells. Expanding the size of the cells by basically you pump it full of pressure, and then you just start shoring up the edges. You start shipping in new proteins that build new cell wall. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The direction in which a plant cell grows, because they don't grow as, they don't turn into squares, they turn into rectangles, is determined by the direction of the cellulose and lignin. So where do you have a lot of lignins and a lot of cellulose being expressed? Typically it's on the side walls, not the end walls. So you have lots and lots of lignin here, less lignin there. That's the weak spot. Nick, you look like you want to ask a question.
Why do you need lignin?
Lignin provides support. It's a carbohydrate that gives that cell wall structure. So we got a lot of pressure in there, and the easiest way to release that pressure is by growing outward, creating these rectangles.
Does it also do the thing where it'll like transport a whole bunch of materials to the outer?
That's exactly what it does. Yes, you use the Golgi apparatus. It's just like fungus building their cell walls, where they use the Golgi apparatus to ship out lignins and cellulose to the wall, and the wall expands. Apical meristems, as we talked about last time, are the location where you're going to produce new cells. They're going to be increasing the number of cells, and those cells begin to develop by expanding beyond that. So here we have the apical meristem, because this is where it grows upwards. You can see two primordial leaves growing there, and you're going to get more stem until you build another meristem. Off to the sides here, you can see some lateral meristem beginning to grow. These plant cells, any plant cell, okay, this is super cool about plant cells, so I'm going to sidebar into super cool science versus basic science. Plant cells are what are known as pluripotent. Have you guys ever heard of the term pluripotent when referring to cells before? Oftentimes you'll hear pluripotency when you talk about stem cells. Pluripotency means you can take any cell of a plant and turn that one cell into any other type of cell in that plant. You could have a stem cell and turn it into root cells. I'm sorry, you could have a leaf cell and turn it into root cells. What this means is any cell in a plant has the potential to build an entirely new plant. Your cells are not all pluripotent. You originally were composed of pluripotent cells. Fetuses are made of pluripotent cells. They have their cells, when they're in a ball of about 128 cells, have the potential to be any other cell in the body. It's just later they begin the process of differentiation, at which point you get rid of that pluripotency. You do have some cells, some stem cells like underneath your skin that will create new skin cells all the time. But for plants, every single one of their cells is pluripotent. Every single one of their cells has the potential to build a whole new plant. Yes.
Back to the apical meristem. Does that only occur on roots, or is that like everywhere on
The
buds and leaves and stuff?
If it's apical, it either goes up or it goes down. So it's either roots or shoots. If it's lateral meristem, it's growing off the sides.
Okay.
So if you're growing like root hairs at a lateral meristem, you would do that at a lateral meristem. Every vascular plant out there has two types of tissues. They're called tracheid tissues, the xylem and the phloem. This is what's known as your primary vascular tissue. We're going to move water through xylem. These are like empty tubes. They're dead cells. You build xylem specifically to build straws. Now, xylem are called tracheids. They are going to have lots and lots of holes scattered through them. When you guys were younger, or again, I assume you're younger. When you guys, in the past, it could be last week, I don't know. Did you guys ever play with a slip and slide? Now, did you have like these super cool slip and slides that have like, you plug in the hose to, sorry, I have to demonstrate this. You plug the hose into it, and then it's got like this arc of water going all the way down. No, yeah, you had like what I had, which is a bag with a hose on it, and you slid down it into a rock. A tarp, yeah. Use a tarp, fill it with water, hope you don't die. Some of you guys have that more advanced one, though. You know what I'm talking about? It's got like water shooting out the side the whole way down. That's what tracheid tissues do. They're going to sort of leak water the whole way down, so you get a nice even spread throughout the whole plant. It's using this xylem with water leaking out as it goes that the plant cells on the sides of the tracheid tissue stay wet. They're going to move through a process called transpiration, which I'll get to in a second. So here we can see that series of, here's the xylem tissue in this pink. You can see all the little sort of pits through it. Water will leak out, and as it leaks out through those little pits, all of these cells get watered. Transpiration is how how plants move water through themselves. Water is going to evaporate out of the top. You guys, what structure in plants does water evaporate out of? On the leaf. Yeah, the stoma. The stoma is open, water leaks out. As that water evaporates, it's going to pull the water molecule behind it up closer to the leaf, which pulls the one behind it, which pulls the one behind it, all the way down to the root where they start pulling water out of the ground. Sabrina, can I use your help? I'm gonna go. Sabrina, just roll your chair right in front of the door. Okay, so it's Carlos. I'm totally gonna use you too. Roll your chair over to the door. Nick, can I use you? Do you mind? Yeah, roll your chair over to the door. Okay, so each of us are water molecules over here, right? Sit in the chair. And right there. Cool. Now, yeah, sit. Everybody sit. Cool? You're sitting? Good. Now hold hands. Do you mind? Okay, you good? Now take my hand. I'm a water molecule. I'm at the top. This is the stoma. I'm like, cool, I'm going to evaporate. I'm leaving. Right, and now I'm gone, and here's a new water molecule at the top of the leaf. So what's she going to do? She evaporates. Yeah, so get up and move. Goodbye. Pull him through. And now Carlos is at the top. So what's going to happen? Nick runs into a door. And he leaves. And now you're at the top. And then you leave. And now take your chairs back inside.
Okay, thanks.
And this point, there's no more water. So what happens? The plant can't pull any more water up. It can't water all these cells around it. Those cells start to lose their turgor pressure, and the plant wilts. That's how water moves through a plant. If you guys want, I've got some hand sanitizer up here. You want some?
Wow.
No, seriously. What? Okay, I'm just checking. Is it hand sanitizer? Yeah, it actually is. I'm sorry. I was like, or it's a chemical. Who knows? It's a mystery. Read the labels. That's what I'm going to start calling it from now on too. Behold my desk fluid. Um, so that's transpiration and how plants get water through their cells. But we're not just transporting water, we're also transporting nutrients. And as we know, nutrients get transported through the phloem. That's this is a great word. It's via symplastic movement. That is, it's through the cytoplasm of one cell to the next. They're literally, you're moving nutrients from this cell to that cell to that cell and back. Now, this nutrient movement goes in two directions. It's bidirectional. It's an active transport. You're moving nutrients throughout the plant wherever they need to go. It's not just one way like water is. They're moved through the phloem. Now, interestingly enough, phloem do not have any nuclei. This is one of the cool things about being a multicellular organism is the phloem entirely lack nuclei, but they still need proteins and things. So where do they get the proteins and everything in order to live? If they have no nucleus, they're not building it themselves. So how do they survive? It's easier than you think. The sun, well, yeah, you get energy from the sun to power these reactions, but these guys can't build any proteins themselves. So who uses that energy to make the proteins they need? That's exactly it. Because you're multicellular, you have cells around you that are supporting you. Heck, you guys are in lab groups, you know, there's that one person that's just not as good. You got to support them. You got to lift them up. I know now all you're looking at each other like, is it me? Some of you are like, I know it's definitely not me. So phloems do not have the nuclei in order to make their own proteins. They rely on the cells around them to build those proteins. Yes?
Why do they need to make protein?
Well, if you don't have proteins, so these are responsible for transport, right? You're still going to need transport proteins. You're still going to need the energy for those transport proteins to run. You need microtubules. So you still need all of these things built in the cell.
So do xylem have nuclei, or are they just like
Xylem are dead.
Empty?
They're dead, empty pits. They're just like my soul.
So the phloem does not work in the same like cohesion way.
It does not. It's actually moving things using energy.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. One of the major things, as you can imagine, that phloem transports is sugar through a process of translocation. So you're moving it to a new location. Where is the source, the sugar source? Where does it come from on the plant? The leaves. Sun strikes the leaf, photosynthesis happens, you build a lot of sugar. But the rest of the plant needs those sugars in order to use the energy from the sugar to grow. So a sugar sink might be down by the roots. It might be that super sweet sugar-filled ovary of a fruit. Who knows? Wherever the sugar is going, that's called a sugar sink. So the sugar source is the leaf. The sugar sink is going to be a fruit or other structure in the plant that requires a lot of sugar in it. So in short, if you remember nothing else, phloem transports food and nutrients. Xylem is responsible for water and structure. Primarily structure, but also water. So that's the primary vascular tissue, xylem and phloem. You also have secondary meristematic tissue. This is not vascular, this is meristematic. It's going to produce bark and wood. This secondary tissue is also going to make your lateral stems. So apical meristem goes up and down. Secondary meristem is growing laterally, out to the sides, making those branches, buds. Questions or concerns?